Uh, this is one kind of problem uh, in continuation with our problems of finite element analysis. I'll read the statement. The four springs are arranged in a cluster. One end of the assembly is fixed, this end, and at the other end, uh, it is applied with the force of 1000 Newton. The stiffnesses for the springs are given. Using finite element method, we are supposed to determine the deflection of each spring and reaction forces at support. So this is the statement of the problem. So what we have given with? We have given with K1, K2, K3 and K4. So we will be considering this as a stiffness of the spring. So these are the stiffnesses of the spring, given spring. Now, as our first step, we'll be going to draw a finite element model for the given system. In this finite element model, we'll be showing the forces, the deflections, and the node numbers and element numbers. Let us draw this. So this is the left-hand side support, which is fixed. This I consider as element number 1. So this is my element number 1, which is attached to another part. The stiffness for this element is K1, which is 4 Newton per millimeter, which is given in the problem statement. And I'll write the node numbers for this as this is node number 1 and this one is node number 2. Also, we are having displacement as Q1 and force as F1 acting on your element number 1. Oh, sorry, node number 1. This is at node number 1. I'll draw the second element in parallel to the first element. So this is my second element. The stiffness for this element is K2, which is 8 Newton per millimeter. And if we talk of the node numbers, again I'll give the node numbers as 1 and 2. Remember, these node numbers are on the global level. Why I am giving the same node numbers? Because element number 1 and element number 2 are sharing the common platforms for their connections. If I consider this as one plate and this as another plate, so this spring 1 and spring 2 both are connected to plate 1 and plate 2. That's why I am giving the node numbers as 1 and 2, although the elements are different. So this is the specialty of this kind of problem. Next is the third plate, and to this third plate, I am having the element number 3. Okay. For element number 3, I can write again this plate. For this plate I have numbered as 2, and for the new plate I am numbering as 3. So for element number 3, the global node numbers are 2 and 3. Okay. Now comes the last element. Before that, it is K3 for element number 3, which is 10 Newton per millimeter. And the last element, that is element number 4. So for 4, now you can guess the node numbers are, since element 4 is connected to plate 1, one end of element 4 is connected to plate 1 and another end is connected to plate 3. That's why we can say that the global node numbers for element number 4 is 1 and 3. Okay. Also, it is having the stiffness as K4, which is 20 Newton per millimeter. So this is how I can construct the model. I can say that at node number 2, the displacements and forces are Q2 and F2. And at node number 3, the displacement and internal forces are Q3 and F3. Also, they said that a force of 1000 Newton is applied at the end, that is at the last plate. So that's why I can say that this is a force applied to the third node. So this is very, very important. You must be able to interpret the diagram in the form of finite element analysis. If you look this problem statement carefully, you will find that they haven't given you the element numbers. Okay, so which element is to selected as 1, 2, 3? That is one question. So the logical answer, there is no straightforward procedure or thumb rule, but the logical answers are, since these two parallel elements are, we will be starting from the left side. From left side to right side, we'll start on numbering, start giving the numbering. So since these two are the parallelly connected element and connected to this plate and this plate, we can number it as 1 and 2. From top left to right and top to bottom. So this is number 1 and this is number 2. So this is one thumb rule. I mean, I can say it's a logical way to define the elements, to give the numbers to the elements. Left to right and top to bottom. So it is one element number 1 and element number 2. Now left out the two elements, which element is to be numbered as 3 and which is to be numbered as 4. Now in this case, always try to give a number, a next number or the preference to the element which is connected to some other, I mean say, which is in uh, sequence with the other elements. I mean, here you have number 1 and 2. Okay, so for the next element, the numbers should be 2 and 3. If you give here for this as element number 3, it will give you number as 1 and 3. So 1 is element number, node number 1 is shared by continuously 3 elements, which will be not a good condition. So what we have to do is give the number, node numbers, global node numbers in the next phase. Like for first we have given as 1 and 2 for first two element. Next element try to give it as 2 and 3 and select that element as number 3. So that's why I'm selecting this as number 3 element, because it is sharing the nodes, new node numbers, global node numbers 2 and 3. And left out element 4, that for that element I have given the number as 1 and 3. So it will be easy for you to construct your element connectivity table, which will not be a tedious task for you, and it will be easy for you to construct the global stiffness matrix also. Okay, so after this we'll create the element connectivity table, which is again the important part of your problem. element connectivity table. In the previous type of problems, the element connectivity table is a straightforward thing. The relationship are in sequence, but here, since the springs are arranged in the cluster form, it is little bit tedious to construct the element connectivity table. So element and node numbers, the structure remains same. We are having four elements, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The global node numbers are local node numbers are 1 and 2. Local numbers, or I can say local degree of freedom, as 1 and 2. Now for element number 1, I am having the node numbers as global node numbers as 1 and 2 from the diagram. Okay. For second also, I am having the node numbers 1 and 2, global node numbers. For third, it is 2 and 3. And for fourth, it is 1 and 3. So these are your global degrees of freedom. Okay. So in previous type of problem, it is 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, likewise. But here, since the arrangement is in a cluster form, it is somewhat changed. Okay. So this is your element connectivity table. The next task is to construct the element stiffness matrices. Next is element stiffness matrices. This is easy as compared to previous part because we need not to find out the stiffnesses as we need to find out for the bar problem. Here the stiffnesses are given to us directly. So we can write K1 for element number 1 as 4 minus 4 minus 4 and 4, which is stiffness K1, 4 Newton per mm, which is given to us. So K1 we can directly write. There is no cross-sectional area, no modulus of elasticity, no length is to be considered. So this is a straight away marking of the element stiffness matrices. Now we'll write the global degrees of freedom. As I am saying continuously that you must have to mark these global degrees of freedom, and you must pay attention to these global degrees of freedom while constructing your global stiffness matrix. So this is 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Next is second spring. For that K1 value is 8. So it is 8 minus 8 minus 8 and 8. And I can write the global degrees of freedom as 1, 2 and 1, 2. Global degrees of freedom. Similarly, for K3, I'll write it as 10 minus 10 minus 10, 10, and global degrees of freedom as now look, it is 2, 3 and 2, 3 for element number 3. For element number 4, the stiffness is given as 20. So that's why I'm marking it as 20 minus 20 minus 20 and 20. Here the global degrees of freedom are 1 and 3. So it is 1, 3, 1, 3. So once you mark these global degrees of freedom in such a fashion with the help of element connectivity table, it will be very easy for you to construct your global stiffness matrix. So let us construct the global stiffness matrix. Global stiffness matrix, which will be a complete picture of the continuum. Now, before writing the global stiffness matrix, we used to write or used to identify the size of the global stiffness matrix. So you know that size of global stiffness matrix is equal to number of nodes in the system, number of nodes in the system or in the continuum multiplied by degrees of freedom per node. So this will give you your size of global stiffness matrix. Here in this the present system we are having 3 nodes and each node is having 1 degree of freedom. That's why the size of the stiffness matrix will be 3 by 3. Okay. Let us write the global stiffness matrix. It is having size 3 by 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Let us find out 1, 1. Okay. So let us find out the elements for column 1 and row 1. So this is going to be 1 for first stiffness matrix. It is 4. Second, again we are having one element, one column and one row numbered as 1, 1. So this is 8. In third we don't have 1, 1, but in fourth we will find first column and first row as 20. So from stiffness matrix 1 we are getting element as 4. From second stiffness matrix, we'll be getting element as 8. And from fourth stiffness matrix, we'll be getting element as 20. So we need to add all these elements. So it is 4 plus 8 plus 20 with 1, 1 as a element. Now let us go for 2, 2. 2, 1. Second row, second column, first row, this is 4. Second column, first row, minus 8. And second column, first row, not in the rest of the matrix. So we'll write it as minus 4 and minus 8. Remember, you have to consider this element along with their signs. So here it is minus 4, so you have to consider minus 4 only. And in here in second matrix it is minus 8, that's why you have to consider minus 8 only. So you have to consider the elements along with their signs. Next, 3, 1, we are having only one element, minus 20. Now again, going for 1, 1, 1, 2, let's go for 1, 2. So first column, second row, element number 4. First column, second row, element number 8, minus 8. So we'll be writing it as minus 4 and minus 8. Again, for 2, 2 will be getting more number of elements. 2, 2. Second column, second row. So this is one element, 4. Second column, second row, 8. Second column, second row, 10. And don't have this. So 4 plus 8 plus 10. So we'll be writing it as 4 plus 8 plus 10. So likewise, you have to construct your global stiffness matrix by considering these global degrees of freedom which are mentioned in your element stiffness matrices. So it is again minus 10, then we are having minus 20, minus 10, and for 3, 3 we are having two elements, it's 10 plus 20. Rewriting the stiffness matrix, we'll get 38 minus 12 minus 20 minus 12, then 22 minus 10 minus 20 minus 10 and 30. So this is coming out to be 1, 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3, which are your global degrees of freedom.
Sir, first one will be 32, na?
Yeah, sorry, 32. It is 32. Yes, 32. Sorry, my mistake. Fine. Now, next is to construct the equation. To construct the generalized equation, which is equal to KQ is equal to F. KQ equal to F. So writing it in the form KQ is equal to F, we'll get 32 minus 12 minus 20. Let me check once again the element. Yes. Then minus 12, 22, minus 10, minus 20, minus 10, 30, Q1, Q2, Q3, displacements at node 1, 2 and 3 respectively, and forces as F1, F2 and F3. Okay, so this is our equation. Now we have to apply the boundary conditions. We have to apply the boundary conditions. Boundary conditions means the information which is known to us. Now what we know, at node 1 there is fixed support. There is fixed support, or node 1 or plate 1 is fixed. That's why Q1 is equal to 0. Since that plate is fixed, all the nodes as numbered as 1, they cannot move. So that's why Q1 is equal to 0. Also, internal forces, F1 and F2 are 0. And we know that F3 is equal to 1000 Newton. So these are the boundary conditions. Now by elimination approach, since node 1 is fixed, Q1 is fixed, we'll be eliminating this, and we'll be eliminating first row and first column. Okay, so this is by elimination approach, which we have discussed earlier. This is by elimination approach. Now rewriting this equation, we'll get 22 minus 10 minus 10 30 Q2 Q3 is equal to 0 and 1000. So we are having two equations and two unknowns. We can solve it simultaneously. Solving the equations, you can solve it on your calculator also. We'll get Q2 as 17.857 millimeter. 17.857 millimeter. You can check it once again, cross check it. And Q3 as 39.286 millimeter. These are your answers for the first part. Displacement. So displacements are at node number 1, the displacement is 0. At node number 2, the displacement is 17.857 millimeter. And at node number 3, the displacement is 39.286 millimeter. Okay. Now next task is to find out the reaction forces. Now I request you to find out the reaction forces. I'll give you the equation and it's your task to find out the equation, to find out the reaction forces. Now to determine the reaction forces, we are having equation R is equal to KQ minus F. We can say that at fixed support we will get the reaction. So it is 32 minus 12 minus 20 0 17.857 39.286 minus 0. Find out the reaction. Use your calculators and find out the reaction R1 by simply multiplying this matrix. Is minus 12 into 17.857 minus 20 into 39.286. So I think it is coming out to be minus 1000.004 Newton, which is your reaction force with negative magnitude, that of the applied force, equal and opposite reaction force. This is again your answer. So this is one kind of problem which you can solve and which is popularly asked in the examination. Okay, so because of some work, we'll be stopping over here and we'll continue to discuss this kind of problem in our next lecture. You can put your attendance in the chat box.